Today I'm talking to Rhett S. Butler, the man behind the intense horror crime mashup Nefarious. Welcome to Dope Black Movies.
Thank you very much, Victor.
It's great to have you here. Your film is fascinating. I watch hundreds of movies a year. I've never seen a film quite like yours, so I'm excited to talk about it. One thing we have to address first, I'm not someone who likes to perpetuate stereotypes, but there's a stereotype about Jamaican people having a lot of jobs. And I looked at your IMDb page and you're not helping that stereotype. Is there anything on this film you did not do?
Well, the thing about it is that I did have help, obviously, from the cast, who I must raise my hat to because it would not have been possible without them. As an independent filmmaker, you really have to learn just about everything to get the job done. In my particular case, I was running, the only budget I had was really my salary and what I knew to do skill-wise. So in order to cut down cost, a lot of those things I had to teach myself how to do, from editing, coloring, sound, makeup, special effects, and all that. I did have help from Alan Tennant, who plays Andrew in the film. He operated camera B the times when he's off screen. So, that worked out. Owen Banton would hold the boom mic from time to time. So, with that sort of help. But a lot of the technical stuff, I just had to get down and dirty and, learn how to do these things.
So your film is quite the mashup. It's a gangster flick and it's a really intense horror movie. Can you tell me about your film and how it all came together?
Sure. So it comes back to Alan again. In 2003, I wrote my first script, which was a horror movie, no surprise. But that was not based in Jamaica. That was based in the UK. It's a sort of a gothic horror. It was at a time when I just felt like doing something because, you would sit and dream all day. Why not write? And that was the best option for me. Interestingly, on completing that script, I submitted it for copyright and publisher out of Pittsburgh saw it and they wanted to turn it into a novel. At that time, I was going to do my master's and I chose to do the academic route over going that way. At that time, self-publishing wasn't so big, right? So it would have cost. So I met Alan a few years later on the set of it was like a TV show that I wanted to get going. And what it was about the business aspect of music, the background, what artists go through, what producers go through, etc. So I wanted to tackle something from that perspective. So I met him on that set. We did about 2 recordings. Sadly, the last person that we recorded died from illness. And it really didn't get beyond that. Well, anyway, I told him while I was there, I said, hey, man, I really want to make a film. And he said, yes, he wanted to do one as well. And he wanted to do a traditional, gangster flick. I wanted to do horror. So I said, you know what? I'll go and write something. And I fused both those genres. And Nefarious was born subsequent to that. And I shared the script with him. He loved it. And had it sitting on for about a year before, I decided I had to do it before moving to Canada, or else I don't know when again I'll get the opportunity to do it. So yeah, that was made, at nights and on weekends, basically.
And can you give me a breakdown of what your film's about?
Sure. So Nefarious is really about the protagonist. He falls in love with someone who, he thinks, I don't want to give away too much, but what he believes is happening is definitely not what's going on. He's actually being used for something much greater, which involves, the person with whom he shares that romantic relationship. And during all of that, he gets exposed to all the what I would call necromantic and all the evil sort of stuff and gangsterism, etc., which he was not a part of that life before. So in a desire for what he wants, he ends up falling victim to somebody else's plan. what I will tell you also is that even though it's a cross genre between, say, urban drama, the gangster and the horror, one of the things I tried to do was not to really reveal the real genre of horror until the very end. Um, so you'd be watching it and you say, okay, it's horror, it has the gangster aspect of it, but what subgenre within the horror, would it fall? And that's revealed at the very end.
Yeah, horror is such a malleable genre. You can fit any other type of film into it. You can make a horror comedy, you can make an action horror flick, right? So
Exactly.
it really does, like, that gangster element of your film really does play into the scarier aspects of the movie. So it works as
Yeah,
a metaphor for just getting drawn into the dark side of life, but then it's literally drawing these people into this dark world of mysticism and magic. It's a great
exactly.
combination.
Exactly.
Uh, the word nefarious, after seeing your film, it just makes so much sense.
Mhm.
What does that word mean to you, and why was it the perfect title for your movie?
Well, the thing about it is that when you think about what Mark went through, as the lead, um, the intention of Andrew, and Natasha, and Natasha brothers Andrew and the other characters, is that yes, as I said, before, that there's a gangster element, so the criminal aspect of it is the intent to do wrong, right? The intent to actually harm someone else. The intention to do that is definitely a nefarious one. And so I thought to myself, that would be ideal. If you notice, throughout the entire film, that word was never mentioned. I know it is stapling a lot of movies that they would actually mention the title throughout, and I purposely kept that out. There's another word that I kept out also, and that word again ties to the reveal of the subgenre of horror that it is in the end. And perhaps I can spoil it and say it here if you don't mind. But yeah, it's a vampire movie, but I dare not use that word in it. Until the very end, you realize that that's what was really going on.
So the magic and the supernatural elements, the mysticism in this film, it's, I keep using the word intense. I can't think of a better word for it.
Uh,
It's wild. Where did you come up with that? Is that based on any real mythology? Did you make it up for the film? How did you go about incorporating that?
well, sure. So it's a combination of things. Growing up in Jamaica, my mother is a Christian. She's apostolic, but she had a lot of friends who were in the revival denomination. And what revivalists do, it's a combination of um, African cultural worship mixed into the Baptist type worship. And so she would take me to some of these churches when I was little, and I would see all these things, right? And she had a few friends who were practitioners of that. In fact, uh, you know, some of the cast members who actually played within the exorcism scene are actually real revivalists. So, none of those persons were acting, with the exception of Danny Williams, who actually plays the what we call in Jamaica Obeah man. In North America, they would refer to as a voodoo priest. He actually participates in that culturally, but not full-fledged. But everyone else in that room at that time are actually real practitioners. So revivalists are different from Obeah, and Obeah has two sections to it, right? So you have what is called necromancy, which is the evil part of it, right? And the other part of it is understood to work for good. So growing up in Jamaica and seeing this, there were a lot of stories that my mom told me concerning these things. And, it was only natural for me to incorporate that, as truly a representation of Jamaican folklore and, the culture and mixing that sort of stuff in gangster life. In fact, a lot of so-called gangsters in Jamaica would actually visit these guys. So, the movie is a reality in its sense, even though, it's fictional in terms of the story and what's happening.
What was it like immersing yourself in this world? As a director, as an editor, as a DP, you're in this dark, gritty world. You're watching these horrific images, and you're thinking about violence all the time. Uh, did that stay with you when the camera stopped rolling? Did you do anything, any sort of self-care to kind of pick you back up or get you in a good headspace before going back in?
Well, I think during the time I was so busy and caught up with trying to get it done and working with a deadline, I was more worried about, how I would get things finished on time. As you can understand, trying to direct a movie, having to cut, then go and apply makeup, test and see what it looks like, come back in front of camera, roll again. I mean, your mind is just constantly working. And then, I would actually make backup of everything I shoot each night when I get home. So I was finishing backup sometime 3 o'clock in the morning, and then I have to be at work 8:30 the next morning. So, it was just adrenaline. So I never really had time to digest any of that until it comes to editing, right? So during the editing phase, I mean, I'm not the thing for me when it comes to movies, I'm not easily phased by what I see on screen, understanding that it's made up. It's if someone sends me something that's real on WhatsApp, that sort of thing I don't want to see, right? So yeah, I'm appreciative of the artistic talent behind anything I see on screen that someone else created, because I know what it takes to do it. And it's really being appreciative of it. So for me, I never really had to go back and try to get my headspace. I do watch a lot of different types of movies, though, I should say. I'm not tied to any particular genre, but yeah, I was able to handle it.
A question I'd like to ask filmmakers is, what film do you think would be a good double feature with your movie?
All right. Contemporary or much older?
Take your pick. It could be a triple feature if you want.
A triple feature. That's a good question. You know what I would put with it? I'm a big fan of all the kung fu movies, right? So,
Oh, you're preaching to the choir there.
Yeah, well, growing up in Jamaica, we had lots of those. And I have a large collection of movies from Shaw Brothers, one of the studios, that is revered. Yeah, for me. So I think I would team it with one of those flicks. There's so many good ones. I know the well-known ones are like 36 Chambers of Charlene, but there's one called Judgment of the Assassin, which is really great. Stars David Chang. It's not a Chang-Chi directed film, but it's really good. Really good.
Awesome choice. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna look that one up tonight. Those old Shaw Brothers flicks, like I'm excited for Shang-Chi, and I'm sure like that pales in comparison to our affection for those old time movies, right?
Oh yeah.
But anything that'll get people into the martial arts movie genre, it does not get the love it deserves.
I'm telling you, I mean, I could go on and on for it, and I'll just steal a little bit at a time on that. That was influential for me as well, in terms of how those directors were doing action back in that time versus what I was seeing in North America. Even as a child, I could see the difference in action term what I would see in a Hong Kong film versus what I would see in a North American film. And obviously, since the influence of martial art on film started gaining prominence within North America, you've seen how everyone knows kung fu now. Like every movie you watch, the fighting is different. It's more, it's more artistic, it's more stylish. But back then it was a punch and a drop like a bar fight. But no, I've seen some wicked ones, but I really don't go with those films.
To me, those films are high art because you look at the work that goes into getting the camera coverage, the choreography, the rehearsal, in the weeks leading up to a 2-minute fight. They might spend 3 months working on it, right? It has the physicality of ballet. And I just don't understand how people just see this as just like, dumb and loud and insubstantial. Like a beautiful action flick I don't. There should be a category in the Oscars for action choreography.
Oh yeah, definitely. I do know that you know, the Black American community was big on these films, right? Of course, you can see from Wu-Tang Clan and Raza, you know, these guys really took to that and brought it forward. I was also happy for Kill Bill when Quentin Tarantino made that movie. Like when I saw that film, I knew that I was having a different experience than someone else sitting beside me because of all the references in that movie, from the opening logos and the shot of the sound filming on the backlot, using the Five Deadly Venoms characters embedded in it, you know, Priest by May, you know, Luchai Hui, who played the head of the Crazy 36 Fighters.
Also,
And
shout out to Sonny Chiba, who died last week.
wow, he died.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Great. From Street Fighter. Oh, yeah, it's awesome.
One of the greatest of all time. Yeah, now you have me pumped. I'm ready to watch martial arts movies all night long.
As I said, I have a great collection, so if you want some, talk to me.
We're going to be great friends. So you're billing your film as the first of its kind to come out of Jamaica. Why are you a trailblazer in this area? Why aren't there more horror films coming out of the country?
Well, I hope to ensure that that happens, which is one of the reasons. The thing about it is that you know, when I looked around, I didn't. Well. Let me first say that I wasn't necessarily trying to be different. I just went with what I wanted to do, and you know what I wanted to do first, and it so happened to be horror. Then I looked around and I realized that there weren't any. And the thing is that there are so many rich stories there. Like I'm currently writing my second screenplay, which I hope to shoot next year. It's also horror. It's not that I'm going to be doing horror forever, but you know, it's getting me to where I think I can, you know, really produce something that's really awesome. And yeah, it's going to even go deeper into Jamaican folklore and, you know, stuff like that. And there are so many rich stories there, you know, and across the Caribbean. And you know, I'm learning about stuff now that's, you know, similar in Ghana and Nigeria, and I'm saying, wow, just imagine if we take this genre and expand it. There's so many things which can be done. So, you know, I know for some persons don't like horror, but you know, I've always said that horrors are often at times they're really strong dramas with horrific elements.
For sure.
Right? Yeah, and you know, when I was a teen, reading some of Stephen King's novels and stuff like that, that's one of the things I realized, that most of it was about people, right? So before I even started making Nefarious, I bought a book. I bought that. It's the one that says your movie sucks.
Okay.
Yeah, and I realized that one of the things he was talking about is that a lot of times people do not develop the characters, so when they die, nobody cares. And you know, that's one of the things with Nefarious that I try to do. I want you to develop a relationship with these characters. You know, I want you to know who they are and their purpose, and you know, why they were doing what they're doing. But you buy into the character before anything happens to them.
Yeah, there's no sense of threat if you don't care about what happens to the people in the film, right? And you know, you can get someone invested in a character in just a 2-minute opening scene. It's kind of shocking how many films just cut straight to the plot and don't try and get you emotionally invested.
Exactly. And the thing about it is that, you know, one has to be quite skilled in trying to do this within 90 minutes or 2 hours. You know, how do you get people to buy into a character within that time frame? So, you know, I decided, okay, I'm going to spend the first half of the movie trying to do that, you know, and lead it, you know, into the stuff that really what the genre is about.
And your film had so much music in it. I can't imagine as a filmmaker saying, I'm going to license this much music to put in a film. Can you talk about putting the score together, like where the music came from, how you got it on there?
Sure. All right. So this is a combination of stuff. There's a lady by the name of Rachel Armstead. She's in Georgia. Funny enough, I've never met her. I met her online because I was looking for someone to compose. And so I, you know, stitch some stuff together and tell her, yeah, you know, I want something that sounds like this for the soundtrack. And we did several back and forth, and the stuff that she would send me, I would split them and edit them and put them together and set them back and say, okay, this is what I want it to sound like. And she would do it. So she did the actual soundtrack. Now for the music, I have to give shout out to Banks, who is a new artist in Jamaica. And of course, Statius and Bridges. Statius is well known. In fact, she recently won the Jamaican Festival Song Award yeah, this year. And there's also Basra God. There's also Exo Levi. It so happens that my nephew produces Exo Levi and a few other guys, and he owns the label Wild Out Records. That's Markland Duncan. And you know, I said to him, hey man, I'm in a hole. I really need some music for this. And we came to an agreement to be mutual promotion for both of us. And the same thing, you know, was with Statius and Banks. You know, they had these songs sitting around, and it's all right, well, let's see if we can do something together. Put the thing out there, you know, it would draw attention to it. It will be beneficial for both of us. And, you know, the thing about it is that it's really how you approach people and how you put your ideas across. I mean, you know, this is my first film. I didn't do it with a budget or anything like that. So, I mean, you know, people understand. And if they buy into what you're thinking or what your plans are, you know, definitely it was work. So that's how I got those songs. Alan also provided 2 songs on the soundtrack as well, through Razorgod and King Shiloh, I think is his name. And so the soundtrack came together. I had previous artists on it before, but you know, when it came down to actually getting the rights for it, I wasn't comfortable in terms of how that was handled. So you know, I just said, you know what, let me put that on the background and search again. You know, these guys came through, and I'm very, very grateful for them. So I'm looking forward to work with them in the future. You know, hopefully when I do have a real budget and something, though, I can reward them. So yeah.
It sounds much better than a lot of stuff I've heard in movies with pretty substantial budgets. And I think it works so well in your film because it's just, if you're driving or partying at the beach, this is music you'd want to be listening to. And you hear this up-tempo music that just makes you want to bounce. But then there's this contrast where all of a sudden it's nighttime and, you know, the screen is covered in shadows and everything is dark and moody. And it's like, it really gets you in one place where you're up, and then it brings you down. And, you know, when the shocks and the darkness and the violence come, it hits you that much harder, because a minute ago I was just like nodding my head, grooving, and now you're scaring the life out of me, right? Like it's just, it's a beautiful choice. I really enjoyed it. I would buy the soundtrack.
Yeah, well, definitely. We're talking now about trying to put that together, a soundtrack for the film. So definitely, chances are that will be available on iTunes soon. But we'll see how that works out. But yeah, based on what you just said, when I had the screening at Cineplex, I mean, people really enjoyed it. One of the most surprising things for me is the audience was comprised of roughly, I would say roughly 40% Jamaicans and the remaining being Canadians. I was surprised that so many Canadians were able to follow the dialogue. Now, yes, and there are times when it gets very deep, which they depended on the subtitles, but they were more appreciative of the fact that the audio was authentic than what they would hear in a lot of movies, you know. So for a lot of them, it felt real, and that was one of the positive feedbacks I was getting on the film, you know. And initially I was worried about it, that like who's going to understand it, but you know, it really translated well to them. So
yeah, I mean, it adds so much texture to the movie. And I mean, we've seen Jamaican characters in Hollywood movies for, you know, 50 years. I don't think they've gotten an authentic accent yet, right? So just to see these, you know, the beautiful cadences of their voices and the expressions, it's so immersive. It really pulls you into the world of your film.
yeah. I was quite appreciative of that. That was quite surprising in terms of the appreciation from the audiences. And they were able to tell, like, you know, what part of Jamaica this person might have been from, because they weren't speaking like the other persons. You know, like one person said to me, when Natasha had a different accent from Andrew, and so forth, and the grandparents, and it was really so.
So we've spent some time talking about all your hard work on your excellent new film. It's time to share the love, and I'd like you to, bring up something that you've been enjoying from an underrepresented artist, filmmaker, musician. What would you like people to know about?
Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of that. But what I'm going to zero in on is Melina Matsuka, I believe is her name. Her first film was Queen and Slim.
Oh yeah.
Um, no, the thing about it is that I know that she has been making like music videos and stuff like that. But the thing is that this is the only movie that I've ever seen her done. And well, obviously it's the first one, and it's one of those movies that I really enjoyed. I like watching movies very late at night, and I think that add that add to the whole thing. Like I watched something like 2 o'clock in the morning or something like that, and I just think it was an awesome film. I think it was written by Lena Waithe. Yep. So yeah. Now that's a great film, and I think that's a director to watch coming up in terms of how she handled that material. It was really good.
It's such a powerful debut. I mean,
Yeah,
there's movies that are plot heavy, character centric, but this is just a vibe movie. There's an energy to every scene. Like you can turn this, you wouldn't want to, but you could turn the sound off and just like understand what's going on and still have a deep emotional resonance with the film. And you can really
exactly.
see her music video background because some of the shots look
Exactly.
like Beyonce should be like shaking in front of the frame, right? It's just such an incredible film. I'll piggyback off of what you just said and recommend another female director, Nia DaCosta.
Mhm.
And she's back. Her new film, I believe it comes out this weekend, is Candyman. They remade the 1992 horror flick, which is
Yeah,
right up your
yeah,
alley.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm telling you, this film is not what anyone's expecting. It pays homage to the original Candyman, but it takes the mythology in fascinating new directions. I can't get too far into it without spoiling it, but again, it has that kind of Stanley Kubrick style cinematography with the real slow push-ins and the
yeah.
center framing. It's gonna freak people out. It's a lot of fun. It's gonna have people pumping their fists in the theater. It's an intelligent, hyper smart social commentary.
Yeah, well, that's already on my list. So, I'm definitely going to see that. I've been waiting for it to be released. I think it's out this week at Cineplex. So yeah, definitely I'm gonna hop on and see that one.
Yeah, I got a screening link, so I got to watch it at home. But that's one film. I barely have any free time, but I want to go back to the theater just to see that on the big screen like it's meant to be seen. I think
Yeah,
you're going to love it. You
yeah,
can't go wrong with that one.
yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
so your film, Nefarious, how can people see it? How can people support it?
Okay, so currently it was acquired by Summerhill Films, a distributor in Arizona. So I was told that it's going to be released in October this year. So this is going to be, of course, through streaming. I'm not quite sure which streaming service they're going to use, but I was told October this year. I'm currently trying to see if I can get a limited release in Canada within the GTA area. So that persons can actually get a chance to see it ahead of the streaming. So hopefully I'll have words on that within a week or so.
Great, sounds great. People are going to love it. I hope it does get to a theatrical distribution deal. We've all been stuck at home for so long. I know,
Yeah, yeah,
but there's something about just being in a room full of people, even if you're socially distanced, and
yeah,
just being
yeah,
immersed in the sound and the images in a theater. I wish I
exactly.
could have experienced your film that way, and I'm hoping a lot of people will get that opportunity because they're going to have a very good time.
Yeah, definitely. Despite the pandemic being around, I had a 96% attendance at the screening, and that was great. Of course, we were all wearing masks, and then there were alternate rows and 3 seats empty in between. So it was really socially distanced and stuff, and but it was a great experience. A great experience. The picture size and the sound and the immersion and the audience reaction is second to none when you're in the room. So yeah, definitely.
All right. Rhett S. Butler, thank you so much for being the very first guest on Dope Black Movies. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Victor. I appreciate it.